Brutal kidnap murder that has scarred forever the Greenlease home in Kansas City. A crime that whisked 6-year-old Bobby Greenlease from this school and by taxi to a plain white frame house in St. Joseph, Missouri.
On September 28, 1953, Robert Bobby Greenlease Jr., the son of a rich businessman, was taken from his school in Kansas City, Missouri. As the police started a huge search for the little boy, the city was in a state of panic and chaos, but the thief remained at large. Soon, Bobby's family started getting letters and phone calls demanding a huge amount of money in exchange for their son's safe return. As the case got more attention from people all over the country, the changes and twists became even more shocking. Who was the one who took the person? Was it someone who knew the family or someone who didn't? And would Bobby's family ever find out if he was still alive? Hi and welcome back to our channel. If you are new here, please consider subscribing, as it helps us motivate to create more intriguing content for you. Let's have a look at the disturbing case of Bobby Greenlease. The Kansas City Power and Light District is one of the city's most famous sites. It has many restaurants, shops, and places to go out and have fun. At the Nelson Atkins Museum of Art and the Kaufman Center for the Performing Arts, visitors can also get a feel for the city's lively art scene. But even with all this beauty and fun, it is hard to forget the terrible crimes that happened in this city in the 1950s. Robert Greenlease Sr. was a multimillionaire who lived in the rich Mission Hills neighborhood of Kansas City. He had everything a person could ever want. He sold cars and owned car lots all over the country. In the early 1900s, when he brought General Motors cars to the Great Plains, he made a lot of money. On February 3, 1947, at age 65, he had a boy whom he named Robert Bobby Cosgrove Greenlease Jr. This changed his life for good. Robert's second wife was Virginia Pollock, who gave birth to Bobby. The Greenlease family lived well and loved their son Bobby very much. He was not an only child. Virginia was his older sister and Paul was his half-brother. In 1953, when Bobby was 6 years old, he went to a private Catholic school in Kansas City called Notre Dame de Cheyenne. It was a very good school, and it was located at 3823 Locust Avenue. He learned and grew with the other kids there. Bobby's life was going well, and the future looked good. But the young boy and his family were in for a surprise. On September 28, 1953, in the morning at Bobby's school, everything was normal just like any other day. No one knew that the day would soon take a sad turn. Sister Moran, the nun in charge for the day, opened the school door around 11 a.m. and met a fat woman who said she was Bobby's aunt. The woman said that the boy's mother Virginia had a heart attack while shopping at the County Club Plaza and was rushed to St. Mary's Hospital. She then said that the Greenlease family had told her to take the child right away to his mother. Sister Moran went to get Bobby from his classroom without giving it a second thought. The 6-year-old was good and trusted adults, so she had no reason to wonder who the woman was or what she wanted. The nun watched as he took the woman's hand, and they both got into a cab and drove away. She thought everything was all right. No one knew that the woman was not Bobby's aunt, and that the things that happened that day would change the Greenlease lives for good. Virginia got a phone call less than an hour after the unknown woman took Bobby. It was a call she would never forget. Sister Martha Anna, another nun from Bobby's school, was on the other end of the line. She had called the family's house to find out what was going on with Virginia's claimed heart attack. But the nun was shocked to find out that nothing like that had happened. Virginia was not in the hospital, and she had not had a heart attack. Soon, both the nun and Virginia realized that something bad was going on. It did not take them long to figure out that Bobby had been taken. As soon as Virginia got off the phone with Sister Martha Anna, she called her husband Robert and told him what had happened. Robert was also shocked and confused just like his wife. He called the Kansas City Police Department right away to tell them about the crime. Also called in to help was the FBI. Panic spread through the city when people heard that Bobby had been taken. The police started a huge search for the lost boy, but they could not find the woman who had taken him because they had no clues about her. As time went on, hope started to fade. But then, Bobby was taken away on the same day that his parents got the first of several letters demanding money. In a letter, someone referred to as M requested $600,000 for Bobby's safe return. This was a significant amount of money, equivalent to more than $6 million today. The requests continued, with M specifying that the ransom should be paid in small bills of tens and twenties. The ransom letter was given to the police, and they started working hard to find the mystery M and get Bobby out of jail. The next day, a second ransom letter arrived. This time, the letter came with a pin that Bobby was wearing on the day he was taken. Robert went to get the ransom money because he was desperate to get his son back. He asked for help from people he knew he could trust. Arthur Eisenhower was one of them, who was the executive vice president of Commerce Trust Company. He was also the president of the United States at that time. Eisenhower made sure that every bank worker who handled the ransom money knew all of the bill's serial numbers. Later, these were published in media all over the country. As Bobby's family continued to save up the huge amount of money the thief had asked for as a ransom, it seemed like they would never see him again. During this time, a guy called Virginia Greenlease's house more than once to tell her that her son was still alive. Even though the family was in a lot of trouble, the thief seemed to enjoy his sick game. Over the course of a week, the family got a total of 15 phone calls and 6 letters demanding money. They also agreed to do everything the kidnapper told them to do. But it would not be long before they saw what a terrible mistake they had made. By the end of the day on October 4, 1953, Robert had collected an incredible $600,000 as a payment for his son's safe return. The money was then put in a duffel bag and taken east of Kansas City to a bridge near Highway 40. At the time, it was the biggest debt ever paid in American history. The thieves called the Greenlease early the next morning to tell them that they had found the money and that Bobby would be back in 24 hours. But as the day went on, no one had any news about where the boy was. The family waited for news with great worry, but nothing came. The Greenlease were left wondering if their son was still living or if the people who took him had betrayed them. The tension was too much to bear, and it looked like their worst fears were going to come true. As they continued to look for Bobby, the next 24 hours would be the hardest and saddest of their lives. Joe Kerr, a former criminal and cab driver, was about to play a key part in the investigation. Carl Austin Hall had hired him in St. Louis, Missouri, to be his personal driver. Kerr knew that Hall had just moved to town and was spending money like it was going out of style. Hall had rented an apartment and bought new clothes. He was living like a king. Kerr thought Hall's actions were strange, so he called his boss, Joe Costello, at the taxi company. Costello was a man who had links with the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department. On October 6, 1953, after the sun had set, Costello told Lieutenant Lewis and Patrolman Elmer Dolan about a man in St. Louis who showed off a lot of money. They went straight to Hall's apartment where he was living and caught him. The cops went into the room and found 2 big metal suitcases full of cash. It was a crazy thing to see. The police then took Hall to the Newstead police station in North St. Louis, where they questioned him about where the money came from. At first, Hall said they had not done anything wrong, but inspectors soon started to put together the pieces of the puzzle. Given how much money Hall had on him, they thought he had something to do with it. After some questioning, Hall finally broke and admitted to his part in the crime. But the most surprising thing was still to come. When asked where Bobby was, he told them that the boy had died. Hall showed that they had not acted on their own. A woman named Bonnie Head was his partner in crime. Together, they came up with a plan to take Bobby and demand a lot of money from his rich parents as a ransom. With Hall's confession and a thorough background check, police were able to put together how the kidnapping happened and find out some shocking facts. Greed was at the center of this web of lies and betrayals. The police learned that Hall was from a wealthy family. His father was a lawyer. When his parents died, He got their 1110-acre farm in Pleasanton, Kansas, as well as a large amount of money. But Hall's life took a turn for the worse when he wasted his money, got divorced, and started using drugs. When he was sent to the Missouri State Penitentiary for robbing a cab driver of only $38, his life hit rock bottom. Hall dreamed of making one big score that would set him up for life while he was in jail. That is when he thought of the wealthy Greenlease family. Years ago, Hall went to a military reform school with Bobby's older adopted half-brother Paul, where he learned about the family's wealth. Hall came up with a way to pay the ransom right away. All that remained was to figure out how to take the child. Bonnie came into the picture at this point. Bonnie was a woman with a lot of different sides. Even though her father left her a lot of money, she still went to wild parties and worked as a prostitute. She also seemed to like crooks a lot. Her first husband was a bank robber who died in a hail of bullets from the cops. But her second marriage did not go any better, and she ended up getting a house from the divorce deal. Bonnie and Hall ran into each other in the bar of the Hotel Rododuce in Missouri. Maybe it was fate or just the way the world worked out, but when they met by chance, it was the start of a dark and strange friendship. As the months went by, Hall slowly told Bonnie about his crazy plan, and to his surprise, she was more than happy to take part. So in the summer of 1953, Hall and Bonnie followed the Greenlease family like two hungry dogs stalking their prey. They watched the family go about their daily lives, trying to find a weakness they could take advantage of. At first, they wanted to take Sue, the Greenlease daughter, but soon realized that Bobby would be easier to catch. They knew they had to move quickly if they wanted to pull off the big score. This set the stage for the kidnapping that shocked the whole country. Bonnie had acted like Bobby's aunt and picked him up from school without setting off any bells. After that, Bonnie and Bobby were taken to a pharmacy where Hall was waiting. Paul took charge and drove them across the state line to an empty field in Overland Park, Kansas. Bonnie got out of the car and walked a short distance, leaving Bobby alone with Hall, who had no plans to keep Bobby living. Hall first tried to kill Bobby with a short piece of rope, but it did not work. Hall hit Bobby in the face, knocking out one of his teeth because he was upset and frustrated. When Bobby fell to the floor of the car, Hall took out his .38 caliber gun and shot him right in the head. After Bobby was taken, he did not last more than 30 minutes. After doing the bad thing, both Hall and Bonnie knew they had to get rid of the proof. They put Bobby's dead body in a trash bag and drove to her house in St. Joseph, Missouri. Then they carefully put the bag in a grave they had already dug in the garden. They dumped a lot of lime on the bag to cover up the smell of the dead body. Now, when Hall and Bonnie got the ransom money, they did not waste any time getting to St. Louis across the state. There, Hall bought 2 metal bags in which to hide the money. He and Bonnie also found an apartment on Arsenal Street with a view of Tower Grove Park. They drank their hearts out there to enjoy their newfound wealth. Bonnie's drinking got the best of her as the night went on, and she fell asleep. This was the right time for Hall to put into action another plan he had. He put $2,000 in Bonnie's bag in the middle of the night and left the apartment with the rest of the money. Hall then took a taxi to the Coral Court Motel in Marlboro, Missouri. On the way, he picked up a prostitute named Sandra O'Day. He wanted Sandra to help him get away from the cops before they caught him. Hall made plans for her to fly to Los Angeles and mail a message to the Greenlease family that he had written. If he had done this, the cops would have lost track of him. There are rumors that Sandra also saw the ransom money Paul was carrying around at some point, and that she was the one who told the cops. Hall may have also bought a shovel and 2 trash cans. Then he rented a car and went to a place along the Merrimack River in St. Louis County to hide the money. Hall looked for a good place to hide the cans, but he could not find one. So he kept the money with him. After this, it did not take long for the police to catch him. After all of these secrets were out in the open, the cops moved quickly to help. Bonnie was found in the room Hall had left her in, and she was arrested there. Both of them were charged with murder and kidnapping, and they will have to face the full force of the law for what they did. On October 7, 1953, Authorities discovered Bobby's body parts in the location where they had been concealed. 2 days later, on October 9, a somber gathering took place at St. Agnes Catholic Church, where friends, family, and members of the community came together to mourn the tragic loss. With tears and heavy hearts, they laid this young boy to rest. Bobby will forever be remembered as a victim of one of the most heinous crimes in U.S. history. Justice swiftly caught up with the 2 thieves involved in the crime. Given that the incident spanned multiple states, it became a federal case. On October 30, 1953, Paul and Bonnie stood before the court and entered guilty pleas for the charges leveled against them. The jury wasted no time, taking merely 1 hour and 8 minutes to deliberate and determine that the death penalty was fitting for the perpetrator. Less than a month later, on November 19, 1953, both Paul and Bonnie abandoned their efforts to alter the verdict and accepted their inevitable destinies. On December 18, 1953, just 81 days after the capture, they were both put to death in the Missouri gas chamber. Bonnie was 41 years old when she died, while Hall was 34. Bobby's kidnapping and murder led to a lot of twists and turns. Paul and Bonnie's execution may have given the Greenlease family a sense of peace, but it also revealed something shocking. Only half of the ransom money was found when Hall was caught. People thought that the officers have stolen the money, but at first they said that was not true and said that they had all the money with them at the police station. In the end, the federal government charged officers with lying and found them guilty. Lieutenant Shoulders received a 3-year prison term on April 15, 1954. Dolan to jail for 2 years. But that was not the end of this story. Lieutenant Shoulders died in 1962. This was a very sad turn of events. Once this happened, Dolan told the FBI that Lieutenant Shoulders and the Joe Costello had actually stolen half of the ransom money. Dolan was afraid to speak up earlier because he did not want to get in trouble, and he did not say anything until Lieutenant Shoulders and Costello died. President Lyndon B. Johnson gave Dolan a pardon in July 1965 because he had helped the government. This was the sad end to Bobby's sad story. When we think about what happened in 1953, we remember that justice was done in the end, but it cost a lot. The story of Bobby Greenlease's kidnapping is a haunting warning of how evil can live in people's hearts and how it can ruin the lives of innocent people. What do you think of this case? Let us know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching.